My name is Alex Chamwada. I'm the CEO of Chams Media Limited. Chams Media is an independent content production company. We specialize in TV content production. And I'm known for a show that is called Daring Abroad, in which we showcase experiences of people working away from their home countries with special attention to Kenyans. It's a program that has been along for about 6 years now. And so I'm a host. I'm known as a television presenter, and I've traversed various parts of the world meeting Kenyans living abroad. So I believe I'm speaking to a familiar audience, or an audience that understands what I do. So karibuni sana. I'm glad to be a co-moderator in today's webinar, and it's gonna be quite interesting. Well, you know, NCBA Bank, for many good things the bank has done. And you know, the mantra is a bank that tells you go for it. So let's go for it. Let's go for this webinar. And you've known the bank for property finance, exemplary customer service, convenient online finance applications, among other services. But we've never delved into the diaspora banking segment or service of the bank. So that is the purpose of the webinar today, to understand the bank's diaspora banking service. Ronah will be giving us details of this later. And this is quite timely, coming to discuss NCBA Bank and diaspora banking. It can't be better. The timing is quite perfect. And the theme of this webinar is building your post-pandemic heaven in Kenya. Building your post-pandemic heaven in Kenya. And think about this. What is a safe place? Or there's this saying that heaven is a safe space away from harm. And many Kenyans I've met abroad, they always tell me, east or west, home is the best. It's the place they would want to eventually relocate to. And while they are still abroad, they want to build their families, their friends, and invest. So NCBA is gonna be your partner in this. And we are privileged to have a human rights lawyer on our panel. Her name is Caroline Waudo. But let me just introduce the other speakers in today's webinar. We will have Tyrus Mwithiga, who is the NCBA Group Director in charge of retail business. Also, as I mentioned earlier, Ronah Kabue, NCBA Head of Diaspora Banking. And just to repeat, guest, Caroline Waudo, a human rights lawyer, and she's been an NCBA customer for over 12 years. So ladies and gentlemen, I believe you are now all set for this. Go for it. And allow me to now introduce Tyrus Mwithiga, the NCBA Group Director in charge of retail business, to give us his opening remarks. And just let me give you a few lines about Tyrus Mwithiga. He has over 29 years experience in retail banking management, wealth and retail products management, and service delivery. And he's worked with the Standard Chartered Bank before. So he has a wealth of experience in that area. So without wasting much time, let me introduce Tyrus Mwithiga to give us his opening remarks. Karibu sana, Tyrus.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you very much. And good morning from Kenya. Good evening if you're in the US, and good afternoon if you're in Asia or the East. I gather that there is some audience from Australia. Thank you all for joining us. As Alex has mentioned, my name is Tyrus Mwithiga. I am the Group Director responsible for retail banking at NCBA Bank. Which is our services to personal customers, which includes our diaspora banking proposition, business banking customers or SMEs from another perspective, and all the services and operations that we run out of our branch network. So I'm privileged to be here today. If you can notice from my brief, I have lived and worked abroad and enjoyed and sometimes struggled with finding a quality partner for my banking needs while I lived and worked abroad. So So I think this is really personal to me as well. And so thank you all for joining us and for spreading the message around today. So let me probably start by talking about who NCBA is. NCBA was formed in 2019. So in a sense, it's one of the newer banks in Kenya. But because we've got a history of over 60 years with either the NIC or CBA that existed before, in a sense, we are not a new bank, and we come with solid credentials. And I will be talking about our strengths and capabilities in this market. NCBA doesn't actually mean anything. It just means NCBA. And if you remember the NIC and CBA aspects of the bank, then perhaps you can put the two together and understand that. In terms of our size and scale, we are the third largest bank in Kenya by assets, with over 500 billion, nearly 500 billion shillings in assets. For those of you who will understand dollars better, that's just under $5 billion. And that makes us the third largest bank in Kenya. We operate in 5 countries, mainly in Kenya, where the group largely operates from, but as well with a presence in Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Cote d'Ivoire. From one perspective, we are probably the largest bank in Africa. We have 50 million clients. And so if you think about we've only got 100 branches, you can quickly do the math and see that also means that a lot of these customers are digital. We are the bank that powers Fuliza and Mshwari. That is a lending service that sits on the M-Pesa money transmission scheme. So when a customer wants to make a payment and doesn't have sufficient balance, you get an instant overdraft to be able to complete the payment. And Mshwari is a digital lending business. So from the Fuliza and Mshwari business, together with the onshore business, the traditional retail banking and corporate banking business, we bank collectively over 50 million clients who are actively engaging with us literally monthly. What is a key differentiator for NCBA as we come to the party, as particularly within the top 3, 4, 5 banks in Kenya? Scale. Scale does matter in banking. You need a bank that has the strength, that has the capabilities to support and make you and your money feel safe. Service, we pride ourselves in differentiating ourselves with quality service. And that is something we intend to continue to defend very, very religiously and very jealously compared to some of the other banks that are around. And our digital heritage of innovation. As I mentioned earlier, you don't bank 50 million clients through a network of branches. So our credentials around Fuliza, Mshwari, those innovations is something that you will continue to see permeating and extending and have extended to the rest of our banking. In 2021, our key strategic pillars include scaling up our retail banking, that is building out our retail banking, which is a business I'm responsible for. Both physically, we will be opening over 20 branches this year, and over the next 3 or 4 years, extending our reach to a lot more areas in Kenya particularly, and in Uganda and Tanzania, where we haven't been as present because our branches are very mainly concentrated within the capital cities of these 3 countries, as well as increasing our investment in digital, asset finance, corporate as well. It's probably topical before I turn into the diaspora banking specifically to just reflect briefly on 2020. It was a very challenging year in very many respects, and we've heard about it in many ways. For NCBA, it was special that being the year that we were putting the bank together in the middle of a pandemic, when people couldn't come to work and our suppliers sometimes could not be able to support some of the demands we were making. It was a challenging year, but I'm pleased to say that we still remained very open for business. And with our strength as the size of a bank that I mentioned, Our scale was important in two ways. Firstly is in providing liquidity for those customers that needed liquidity to continue operating. As you probably can well appreciate from even the countries that you operate in, there are customers that by the nature of the industries or businesses they run, 2020 was in some respects probably the best year they've ever seen. For those customers, we continued supplying credit and support to enable them grow and meet their demands. But then there's quite a lot of other customers that struggled because their business got seriously disrupted. A lot of them had facilities, and we supported those with moratoriums on both repayments of interest and principal to the tune of nearly 70 billion shillings. That's about $700 million. Of customers who we provided support in one form or the other, very contextual to the impact that they were experiencing to support them through the period. And in 2021, our focus is now shifting to supporting these customers into business resumption. Again, some customers have experienced faster and nearly normal levels of business already. Others are still struggling, particularly around the hospitality and probably travel. We will continue to support those customers because we do understand that the struggles that they are struggling through are not reflective necessarily of a weakness in their business, but probably the economic downturn. The view from NCBA from an economic perspective is that we are cautiously optimistic around recovery. We believe that the economy will recover, will grow at around 4.9, maybe 5% this year, which, considering that the last 2 quarters of last year were actually recessionary, that will be a remarkable recovery. The government has continued to provide support, initially through fiscal measures like tax, and supporting banks through moratoriums, and they continue to be committed to support both the financial sector to remain strong and stable, and customers as well to be able to resume. Yes, we still are experiencing some level of measures that are constricting some business activity. For example, at 10 p.m. every night, there is a countrywide curfew. And so businesses in the hospitality sector have to close at 9 p.m. so that people can be able to clear out and get home on time. But we believe that many other sectors, education, schools have reopened. We continue to support those, the transport sector, trade and manufacturing continue to be robust and showing really strong signs of recovery. NCBA intends to remain open for business, just like we are in 2020, to support customers that have a need to for any nature of support. Now, turning to diaspora banking, this is not a new proposition for NCBA. We've actually been, in one form or another, at offering a proposition for diaspora customers since 2003. So as I say, we come with heritage and experience and quite a lot of exposure. What is new this time is we've refined this model. We've refined what our value proposition to you as a discerning customer that is looking for a quality partner back in Kenya. And we're calling it Diaspora Build. And it's not build in the classic sense of build a house on a plot of land. A friend of mine actually texted, and I hope he's online, that, I hope you're not going to be telling us the same old story about buying plots and building flats. By build, we mean your wealth and savings. As someone who's involved in the work that you do, the income that you generate, perhaps with an intention of being establishing a safe haven, as Alex mentioned earlier, back at home, we offer you a channel to build and invest in Kenya, and that's the build aspect of it. Borrow, from a finance perspective, asset finance, mortgages are a core strength of NCBA. And Diaspora Bound, which is your remittances, and we're making it easier for you to transact and manage your money from wherever you might be. What is also new is a new relationship model. Ronah was going to be talking about it with a team of dedicated relationship managers that do nothing else other than support our diaspora customers. This is a team that is initially for but we will be scaling it as the business grows and as your level of interest and areas of specialization develop. I've mentioned the partnerships that we have, whether that's with developers. My team in property finance has a team of professionals, QSs, that will advise customers and help with supervision of projects. And that trusted partnership through the bank and the advisors that we use, the panel of advisors that we have, gives you the confidence that you have a quality bank that you're dealing with. I've mentioned asset finance as well. We've got a string of dealers that will approve facilities within 24 hours, given the correct submission of the required documents. If you should need to buy, whether it's a personal vehicle or machinery or lorries and what have you. And through our investment bank as well. NCBA runs a fully fledged investment bank that will support your growth ambitions on the investment side of things. And the scale that we offer and the new capabilities as a larger, more comprehensive group of financial services group should give you the confidence that you're partnering with the right bank. You may have seen our recent media and brand campaign where we are saying that the numbers that matter to you matter to us. And so we are really looking forward as you prepare to build and continue to contribute to your post-pandemic haven in Kenya in whatever shape or form, that we can partner for you and truly show you that the numbers that matter to you matter to us. So I hope, I'm looking forward to a robust conversation. I am hoping for active engagement as we listen to Caroline and her experiences, and Alex as well, and Ronah in terms of how we've been organized to support you. Thank you again for joining us, and have a lovely conversation. We will do questions and answers later, but I'll hand over back to Alex to carry on with the program. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Tyrus, for that comprehensive overview of the services at NCBA. I saw someone was asking, tell us what NCBA stands for, but I think maybe you answered that. What does it stand for, Tyrus?
It just stands for NCBA. We chose not to explain it further, so think of it as just NCBA, the only bank that doesn't try to split the letters into anything, and so it's a quality name and one that you remember always. Thank you.
Great. Once again, we are glad that you've joined us in this webinar from wherever you are in the world. And just to remind you, this was intended to be just a 1-hour webinar, so we'll be done by 7 a.m. Kenyan time. So it's just 1 hour. So we will be really moving very fast, and allow me at this juncture now to introduce Ronah Kabue, who is the head of Diaspora Banking, to give us a little more insights in Diaspora Banking. Karibu sana, Ronah.
Okay, thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, Tyrus. Good morning, good evening to all our viewers and all our guests who are joining us from all over the world. Greetings from Nairobi, Kenya. My name is Ronah Kabue, as mentioned. I'm head of Diaspora Banking at NCBA Bank. So today I'll take the time to take you through what our offer is all about, and I'll touch on a few things that Tyrus has also mentioned. And as we go along, we'll be happy to take up your questions. Thank you so much. So I'll start with talking about Diaspora Banking, which basically is a proposition that offers relevant and distinct solutions that cater predominantly to Kenyans who are living and working abroad. And this does not obviously leave out the students who are pursuing their education abroad. The solutions are built on 3 pillars, as mentioned by Tyrus. Diaspora Bound has to do with transfer of money. So what NCBA has done is that we've partnered with international money transfer services like World Remit, Western Union, MoneyGram, Exchange for Free. And for those who are based in the US, for example, you're able to use SendWave, which is a service whereby when you send money to your account here in Kenya, the money actually appears in your account on a real-time basis it appears immediately. We also have our internet banking platform or solution that is able to allow you, our diaspora customer, to transfer money from your NCBA account and to anywhere in the world using even our internal platforms and access to M-Pesa and PesaLink. The transfer of funds from abroad to Kenya is something that we understand and we know that is important to you as a diaspora customer. And the fact that we're able to facilitate that for you is something that is key to us, so that then you're able to support your families back home. The pandemic has definitely exposed us to different challenges in one way or another. And the key thing with Around Diaspora Bound is support and sustaining ourselves as we look forward to supporting our families back home. So I'll give an example. We have a customer who recently opened an account. And the reason why he opened an account was so that then he's able to remit money back home. And his main purpose was actually for the purchase of a property. So with his case, he was not taking up a loan facility. He was actually buying or purchasing the property cash. And so he needed a channel where he can be able to buy the property and make payments for that property in installments. So with our internet banking platform, he's actually now able to make those payments in a more efficient way. And so far, it's been working out very well for him. Our second pillar is Diaspora Build, which has to do with high yield savings accounts, such as fixed deposit accounts and call deposit accounts. It also involves insurance and brokerage services. With the pandemic, many of us have had to deal with relatives who have been affected by COVID-19. And we have relatives here at home who have been affected, who have had to be hospitalized for one reason or another. I think when we talk about insurance, I think it's something that is very critical for each and every one of us. And through NCBA Bank, you can get medical insurance for your loved ones back home. A case in point is where one of our customers, who is based in the US, had to take care of his sick mom who contracted the virus. And through the NCBA medical insurance cover, he was able to actually take care of medical expenses for his mom while she was hospitalized in hospital. This definitely was a benefit to him, as he was able to ease the burden of an exorbitant medical bill that he had incurred. The third pillar is Diaspora Borrow. It has to do with property finance, asset finance, and secured loans. So when we talk about property finance, it's a cocktail of different products. So we have the mortgage, which is a straight-through mortgage. We identify a particular house or an apartment that you want to buy, and we're able to finance you to take up the mortgage and facilitate that for you. The other property finance facilities that we're able to offer is a plot loan. You identify a parcel of land, and we're able to finance the purchase of it. The third product under property finance is construction loan. So a construction loan is you already own a parcel of land. So we finance building on it, so constructing on it. So you could construct your dream home, or you could opt to construct a block of apartments for investment purposes. The fourth product under property finance is what we call buy and build. Buy and build means we finance purchase of land and building on it simultaneously. So instead of buying land and keeping it for a while and then come and construct, which is still an option, you can do this. You can take up one facility that takes care of the two in one. With our asset finance, or what we're talking about is the ability to purchase various assets. It could be that car that you've been meaning to buy for your mom, or that truck that you've been meaning to assist your brother to start his startup with. We're able to finance that for you. When we talk about secured loans, we are talking about loans that are secured by, for example, cash, secured by your treasury bills and treasury bonds, or your stocks. So with this pillar, then we are able to have you, grow yourself back home by access through these facilities. An example of a customer who was able to benefit this was one of our customers who actually visited Kenya in December. And during his short stay, we actually had able to have a conversation. And in the process, we discussed his ability to take up construction facility. He's been having a plot of land for a very long time, and he didn't quite know or wasn't sure what to do with it. And our conversation has now led to him applying for a construction facility, and he's looking to put up a block of apartments on that parcel of land. Now he'll have rental income as another way of income for himself. I think I'll hand over to Alex. That's about the proposition. Take it up, Alex. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ronah. Thank you for those insights and that inspiring case study. And indeed, from all those remarks, you now understand why it is important to build a nest egg back home. And as I said, all Kenyans I meet wherever in the world, they tell me east or west, home is the best. And with a good finance partner or a bank as a partner like NCBA, you can be able to do business both abroad and home. I've met many Kenyans who are able to do that, and you don't need even to be in Kenya physically. A good partner will be able to take you through and help you manage your business and be able to live in two worlds, so to speak. Live in Australia and live in Kenya to do your business and impact on livelihoods back home. And remember, COVID has taught us so much. Those I've met, because I've been able to travel around the world despite COVID, they've been telling me COVID taught them that invest, be able to look back home. And indeed, many Kenyans looked back home and sent home quite a big chunk of money. You must be remembering that last year, despite COVID, remittances went well over 300 billion Kenya shillings. And that's quite telling that Kenyans are looking back home. We didn't want to be the one talking so much because I know we need enough time to respond to some of those questions. But let me now go to our chief guest, Caroline Waudo, just in about 10 or 15 minutes to understand her experience abroad, to share her experience. She's been a customer of NCBA for 12 years. Caroline, you are daring abroad, and my show is called Daring Abroad, or rather you've dared abroad. I think you're still daring abroad. Tell us what took you abroad and where have you been? What are some of the countries you've been to? How has been your experience abroad? Karibu, Caroline.
Carol, please unmute.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone listening to us today, this morning from Nairobi. As Alex has mentioned, I've dared abroad. I've lived and worked abroad. I've lived in Asia, in the Middle East, in Europe, and in other parts of Africa. And my experience has really been enriching, inspiring. I have ventured out to different parts of the world. I have learned new cultures. I have interacted, made new friends. I really enjoy living and working abroad, but to be honest, as the saying goes, East-West, home is best. And also, while I'm venturing abroad, it has helped me to learn how to manage my resources better. That's why I am one of the customers for NCBA.
Great. And talking about this pandemic period, what did you adjust in terms of just being a diaspora banking customer? What did you adjust? Is there anything that changed?
Yes, as a diaspora customers, we have all said the pandemic really affected all of us. Many of our loved ones, our family members, our friends lost jobs, job opportunities, businesses. So I had to adjust in that the cost of living was very high to support those that I was able to support. And I also had to adjust my way of living because there was no more traveling. There was a lot of lockdown. So I was locked down somewhere where I was working. I couldn't travel. So there were some opportunities that I lost. But all in all, I say that it was really challenging. And we had to support our families and friends, as those of diaspora have been doing, like some of those customers who are now listening on this webinar.
Great, quite encouraging. And Caroline, are there any opportunities you identified during this season, and how did you leverage on them in terms of investment?
in terms of investment, because there's a facility that I had borrowed from NCBA, I was really glad that they were able to offer me a moratorium on this facility. So I was able to manage to pay my bills, to service my other facilities. And I didn't have so much stress from the bank asking me to pay for the loan, because they had given me a moratorium on the facility that I had borrowed from them. This was very good. And I was able at least to support my family and some of my friends that had lost jobs or had lost their businesses.
Wow, quite encouraging. And when the crisis began, I remember there were fears that remittances from abroad will drop. And to the surprise of many, actually, the remittances increased, which means Kenyans really looked back home, and you are one of them. But give us a little more specifics, Caroline, in terms of products and services at NCBA. Which ones exactly have you been able to tap into or use? How's been your experience with NCBA?
Yeah. My experience with NCBA has been fantastic. As you can see that I have been banking with them for quite some time. I have been able to utilize their internet banking, especially during the pandemic. I was able to transact a lot on online banking. I've also used the M-Pesa services that Tyrus talked about. They've been very useful at the comfort of my home or even my office. I'm able to transact. I was even able to service my facilities using the same services. I have had the opportunity also to get a mortgage from NCBA. And after that also, I have ventured into the construction loan. And I would ask that for the purposes of clients, of people, or those listening, to encourage them that the construction loan is very benefiting. At least it has benefited me, because first of all, you have the bank supporting you. They have a QS and a project manager who visit the site to assess the quality of the work, as well as to look at how your resources are being managed. You can be away, but they will support you. They do this in stages, and you'll find that you don't have a lot of stress from the contractors, because the bank will be there to support. The bank QS and project manager are able to support you. Also, one thing that I noticed, that when we are abroad, sometimes we are caught up in issues of you are not sure about the title deed of the property that you bought. The bank is always there with their lawyers and their valuers to lead you through that process, so that you have a genuine property. And I think this is very key for those of us who are venturing abroad. Also, the bank also offers the protection, like on the mortgages and even the construction loan, for insurance in case there is any damage to the property or anything happening to you. So you have a protection cover on that. I think for me that has benefited me a lot. I've also enjoyed the services of private banking. There is Onesmus there. There is Susan. They are very warm. They are welcoming. They will lead you through anything that you would like. They are flexible. You can write to them. You can even talk to them on the phone. They are always available to offer any support, any savings that you need to do. They are always there. So I've really enjoyed the services, and I'm happy to be one of their clients.
Wow, glad you're happy, a happy client, and you've gone for it. Finally, Caroline, there's this thing that affects quite a number of Kenyans abroad. Maybe you've alluded to it, sending money home through friends or relatives, and that money, it's either squandered or not utilized properly. It may not be their problem, because they may not be professionals in helping you to invest. So you find you've been pumping money home for years, but it did nothing. Have you ever experienced such? And how can a good partner like NCBA help to avert this?
I will be honest that I haven't myself experienced such because I have ventured through the bank, NCBA, to get my properties. But I know that through their search, sometimes of the properties or facilities that I have, we have found that there is an issue with documentation, and this is very key because you can buy a property and have it for some time, and later on you realize that maybe the property is owned by somebody else, and you start a case in court, which is a long process, as we know. So I would encourage that if you are able, you do your transaction through the bank, because they have reliable lawyers, valuers, surveyors, who will be able to search for you such properties that they are genuine. And I know of also, you talked about people who send money at home, and at the end they find that maybe they were investing, but the investment is not there. So that is why it's good to venture through the bank. For example, if you are doing a construction loan with NCBA, we have Alex, we have Dennis, who are the QSs and project manager. They are always helpful. They will be visiting the site practically to see that the construction is going on, or what is the progress before any payments are done, how is the quality of the work. They will advise you on who is best in the market and how can you utilize what is best in the market. So you avoid the idea of sending money somewhere and then for an investment, and then at the end the investment is not there. I've heard of those cases so many times.
Great, that was quite encouraging. Thank you so much, Caroline, for sharing your experience. And I can see we have close to 150 participants. That's very, very encouraging to have you all 150 participants. And I can see questions coming in. Some of the people I'm seeing are people I know. Anthony Mutaki, we met sometime back in 2004 in London. Thank you for joining from London. Zia Beja from Kenya Diaspora Alliance, thank you for joining this webinar. I think it's time now for Q&A. I'll pick questions randomly, and I think Tyrus, Ronah, and even Caroline, you'll be answering these questions depending on which question. I think this is for Tyrus. Dixon Kabugu, and remember participants, be indicating where you are texting us from. That would really help us to map out where are we. Dixon Kabugu is asking, how is NCBA working to compete with other banks that more closely listen to the diaspora? Or has NCBA given up on diaspora? Tyrus.
Fair question, and I think this webinar and this what I described earlier as our focus and setup on diaspora, and you've heard Ronah speak as well, is probably a demonstration that no, we have not given up on diaspora. As I said, we've done this for many years. We believe that the opportunity to be better and to support you better exists. And so today's conversation is a great way to begin to demonstrate that, no, we have not given up. We have visited, and I've seen the next question there speaks about representatives in the UK. We are in conversation with a couple of associations and circles that are based particularly in the US. 2 years ago, the year before the pandemic, 2019, there was a team from NCBA that visited and held many sessions in the US. So it is something that as soon as we can be able to travel, we would like to be present on the ground to support and demonstrate our commitment. But no, this is a focus area. Ronah and her team are set aside exclusively to serve the needs of the diaspora customer from wherever you might be.
Great, you've heard that. Purity Kimani is asking, if I don't have an account with your institution, how can I benefit from the forum? Any online banking options? Ronah, take up this.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for your question, Purity. Would be great to have you on board as a customer. An account is great because then you'll be able to, not just remit money back home, but also just have the experience entirely of what it means to move money back home and to do different things. I am not averse to saying that don't open an account. I'd actually encourage you to do that, so that then you're able to benefit more, not just from this webinar, but from even many other things that we offer. From this webinar, I'd also like to mention that we have other webinars that we do hold on a monthly basis. We have our economic forums, which are good because then you're able to understand what's going on in the economy. And we're happy to share those links with you so that then you're able to log in and also get an understanding of what's happening back home. Thank you.
Great. And I think this is still for you, Ronah. A&T, I think this person has just put initials. And Asema, you went over the savings bit too quick. With regards to your diaspora banking products, specifically the savings account, what are the interest rates that one can earn on their savings? Also, would you consider offering higher return rates if one saves in USD?
Thank you for your question. With regards to savings options, we have, like I mentioned, we have high yield savings accounts and fixed deposit and call deposit accounts. Our current rates range between 2% to about 7%. It depends on the amount that you put in to invest. It also depends on how long you put it in for. So you can put it in for a month, you can put it in for 3 months, 6 months, to even 1 year. So the more you put in, the higher the interest rate, and the longer it's in there, again, the higher the interest rate. Did I miss a question, Alex?
Yeah, in my perspective, answered, but the questioner will let us know if he or she is satisfied with the answer. Let me move to the next question. This is quite interesting. Banis Mitoko says, I tried to open an account, let me not mention the bank, with another bank, and they said, no, I need a Kenyan ID. My mom is Kenyan. I'm born and raised in USA. I have all American ID. Can I open an account with NCBA? Tyrus, maybe take up this one.
Yes, you can. All we need is a valid ID for where you live. So if that's a passport, American, that's perfectly all right. So the short answer to that question, Alex, is yes. Or rather, no, you do not need a Kenyan ID. And yes, you can open an account with an American ID.
No, you don't need a Kenyan ID. And yes, you can open an account with NCBA with an American ID. That's the case. Eh?
Correct.
Great. George Mwangi is saying, I've recently noticed that inflow using World Remit do not show up after your business hours. Is that an issue at NCBA or elsewhere? I continue to enjoy the ability to use your platform. Very easy and convenient to use. Yeah, so yeah, that's a compliment. But the question is, I think it's that using World Remit, they do not show up after your business hours. Ronah, maybe respond to that. Is that just an issue at NCBA or elsewhere?
Thank you for the question. That's not necessarily an issue with NCBA. I would say that because it's not, World Remit is not necessarily pegged to an immediate indication of the money in the account, it may sometimes go to the following working day, which is what is definitely happening whenever you transfer your money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I think this is quite common. I've seen many people would want to know what documentation is required. I think it's in terms of opening an account, I think. This is from Lawrence Onthuga. What documentation is required? Ronah.
I can take that up, yes. Documentation is easy. You just need to fill out an account opening form, which I'm happy to share that with you. You provide a form of ID. You can provide your Kenyan national ID or a valid Kenyan passport. And would also like to have proof of your residence of where you are. So you can provide a recent utility bill. It can be a water bill. It can be a phone bill. You can also provide, for the ones, for example, who are based in the US, a copy of your driving license, which has that details of your physical address. We also require the KRA PIN certificate and a passport-size photo and account opening balance.
Great. Ronah, you shared the case study, and Jeff Temba wants more information. How are you helping the Utawala client manage the construction? Is that supported by NCBA developer partners?
Yes. So the gentleman already has, he already had the land, and he'd had it for a long time, but he didn't, quite know what to do with it. So our conversation ended up with him taking up the construction facility. As we speak, he's actually in the process of putting his documentation together. We are supportive with our experts, in-house experts. Our valuers will value the property, the land. Our lawyers will help handhold him with the conveyancing process. And our quantity surveyors will also be part of the project experts that will help him put his project together. And like Caroline also mentioned, her experiences, he will experience more or less the same thing. Our internal experts, our QS and project manager will also be able to handhold him throughout the whole process to ensure that his project is up and running and that it's within the standards that he's expecting.
Great. It's 10 minutes to 7 a.m. here in Kenya. So I'll give 5 more minutes for Q&A. Then we'll begin to wind up. Zia Beja, Tyrus and Ronah, this is a guy you really need to know. He's from the Kenya Diaspora Alliance, and they have a wide network of Kenyans living and working abroad. So Zia Beja wants to know what aspect of NCBA gives confidence and trust to diaspora, and he's calling it County 48, that their investment is safe. What aspect of NCBA gives confidence and trust to diaspora that their investment is safe and won't suffer wastage from unscrupulous agents back home? I think, Tyrus, you can take up this one.
Yes, thank you, Alex. And I think that's a great question. Zia, I think there's 2 perspectives of it. It helps if you're dealing with a known partner that can support you. As we support our onshore customers that want to construct a facility, and in part to also ensure that they're making the right decisions, when I mentioned that we've got a team of QSs or visit, they'll look at your bills of quantities and so on and so forth, that support is also available to a diaspora customer. Now, what I cannot help you with is if you find a contractor who then doesn't do the job, we do not choose contractors for you. We do not choose the piece of land and make sure that it is there. While we will do due diligence to make sure that the title deed is correct and you've got the right legal advice and all of that, you obviously have to, negotiate and acquire the piece of land or select the contractor, get the right design and all of that. But we can help. And where we have concern, because particularly where we are providing finance, we will also act to protect your interest, just like we protect our interest. So it helps to start with a trusted partner. But there is also, you do also retain the responsibility, to make sure that you are making the right decisions in terms of how you're selecting your service providers and that they are competent to do the job. It helps if they have done 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 projects. So if you're going in with a first time, a contractor with a great idea or developer with a great idea, you probably are taking more risk than if that contractor or developer has a track record that is known. My team can help you with checking if Chamwada and Muithiga Construction Company has ever done anything before. We can help you with inquiries of that nature. But ultimately, you do still have to do a bit of homework. But what I want you to take away is that we're here to help, and we're happy to have the conversation to make sure that you're making a better decision.
Wow. Tyrus and Ronah, you have very interesting questions, and they're coming in so many. So I don't know, maybe you may find a way of responding to these questions even offline after this webinar. People are really interested in this topic you you'll be surprised. This is quite encouraging. And this is a compliment from Judith Apondo. Anasema, NCBA is doing a very good job. I've had a lot of support over the years in very many ways. Please keep it up. That's a compliment for NCBA. Why should I choose NCBA for my development loans over my SACCO? Valerie is asking Tyrus. Tyrus, answer that. Why should I choose NCBA for my development loans over my SACCO?
I think the choice of financial partner, I did mention that scale matters. You know, so a small facility, 5 million shillings, because you want to build a residential house somewhere, you have many choices. If it's a large development, 500 million shillings or $5 million, if you understand dollars more, you'll begin to find that your SACCO might not actually have the capacity to support you, both technically and financially. So I think the choice you make should be informed by what is the size of your project, what support do you need, and not just to start and maybe you'll finish all things being okay, but you have the commitment that you have a financial partner that will see you through. And so I think it's very contextual, but SACCOs are not banks and banks are not SACCOs. So obviously the structures also do matter. Also, if you're looking for a 20, 25-year facility, you'll probably find that some financial service providers may not have the capacity to support loans of that long tenor.
Great. And we have a question from North Carolina. Wow, North Carolina, we have Lillian Atieno, and she's asking, can I open an account online and give full access to my son who recently moved to Kisumu from Texas? That's yours, Ronah.
Yes, it's possible to open an account. I'm happy to take up your contacts and get in touch with you and take you through the process. We'll open an account where you and your son will be able to actually have access to it through internet banking. And the both of you can actually transact here locally, and for you who is away, you can be able to transact from where you are, and vice versa. If you want to send money to yourself from here, you can also do the same through our internet banking. I'm happy to assist you after the webinar. If you could kindly share your contacts, maybe side chat me, and I'll be able to get in touch with you. Thank you.
Wow, I see everyone wants their question answered, but we really apologize that we cannot answer every question here. I think Ronah will find a way of responding to these questions offline. Anthony Mutaki, let me just pick this one. As a new customer, what would you require from me to get a construction loan? Or do I need to have a certain deposit to be considered for the loan? Who can take this, Ronah, Tyrus?
I'm happy to take it up. As a starter, we need to find out, do you qualify? We need to check your eligibility. And to check your eligibility, we use a pay stub for that. So my first question to you would be, are you employed? Because then the next thing I'll ask is for a copy of your recent pay stub. And using that, then I will be able to do an analysis and tell you that based on the incomes that you have, this is the amount that you're able to qualify for. And from the income that you're able, from the loan that you're able to qualify for, then you can now work backwards towards how then you can put in your paperwork, what is required in terms of the paper for construction loan. And also, find out if you already have an existing plot of land somewhere. And if you don't, are we able to actually do for you a buy and build facility, which facilitates purchasing of the land and constructing at the same time. And again, check eligibility for the same.
Okay, well, I wish I could wind up, but this is important, Ronah, because it's a follow-up question. Ronah, all the Kenyan identification and tax documents you mentioned may not be available to one. What then? Is Tyrus right to say a valid passport would suffice? Getting the new generation PIN is problematic.
Thank you for your question. The account opening requirements with regards to a passport would be a valid Kenyan passport. The KRA PIN certificate, fortunately or unfortunately, is a mandatory requirement to open an account. It is something that all financial institutions have to get from their customers. we are happy to support you or help you to get the KRA certificate. We actually support. When I say support, I mean we show you what you need to do to be able to get it online. So again, if you have that challenge, please get in touch with us. We'll assist you to be able to get a KRA PIN.
Great. This is the final one. And by the way, let me remind you, we'll share Ronah's contacts so that you're able to reach her directly for any further questions. So you just look out for Ronah's contact in the chat box. But let me wind up with this question. I feel like your loan processes take pretty long. This is Dave Otolo. What are you doing about it? Tyrus, maybe that's for you.
I was hoping Ronah would take that one. Depends on the loan facility. Asset finance, we will respond even in 24 hours. Personal loans, will be a day or two. Some construction facilities will take time because obviously the level of due diligence for some of such finance facilities do require a little bit more time. However, if your requirements are fulfilling all the questions we have, from credit referencing to your accounts to your employment status, you will find that you will get a quick answer within your expectations. What I advise most people to do is begin the engagement before the deadline to start or to make a payment arrives, right? That's when time becomes a lot more sensitive and a lot more critical. So when you begin an arrangement, before you've maybe even found the plot, let's start the conversation so you can understand what our requirements would be, what you might need to put in place, what is your deposit, what are the requirements, and then you can now proceed with your project with the certainty that you've got a financial partner to support you. That generally works better than perhaps a last-minute rush, application that then might run out of time.
Great, what a session, what an inspiring webinar by NCBA, and we've really lived within the theme, building a post-pandemic heaven in Kenya. I'm glad that I was part of this, and I can see our participants are there, and the number is still increasing. When we are winding up, it's gone to over 150, quite encouraging. NCBA, you have what it takes, and you've had that audience from all over the world. And I'm not surprised because from my experience and the content I do, the biggest segment of my following is in the US, and I've seen we've received quite a huge participation from the US. It's normally followed by Europe. And in terms of diaspora, of course, there is the Kenyan following, but in terms of diaspora, US is normally leading, followed by Europe, and surprisingly, Australia. There is a big community of Kenyans living in Australia. So they've listened to you, they've listened to your comments, but let's now wind up. It's 2 minutes past 7. Ronah, just give us your closing remarks, maybe in a minute. Try and do it in a minute. Ronah?
Okay. Thank you, Alex. My closing remarks will be that the pandemic has really exposed us to many new realities. I'll therefore say that start now. Start by opening that account. Start by sending money slowly but consistently. Start by looking at your options. If you had to come back home today, where would you start? And that's a really valid question. I feel like it's a valid question because then we as NCBA are actually able to support you with that journey. NCBA Diaspora Banking is your preferred financial partner. We will hold your hand and we will demystify the complexities of investing back home. We are also your trusted advisor. We will provide sound advice on what works best for you based on your diverse needs. I'd also like to add and say that despite the pandemic, the Kenyan economy is still up and running. We are not experiencing a few barriers that, for example, our diaspora customers in Europe are experiencing, such as the lockdown. And also the Forex markets seem to be more supportive now with people looking to invest back home. Well, my request is that, let's keep talking, let's keep engaging. Please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is ronah.kabue@ncbagroup.com. You can also reach me on WhatsApp or give me a call. My WhatsApp number is +254 750 959 848. You can also reach us on our group email, diasporabankingteam@ncbagroup.com, or reach us through our contact center. The numbers are +254 711 056 444 or +254 20 288 4444. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and this evening. Please have a good night to those who are in America. Please have a good morning to those who are in Europe, and to everybody else in the entire world. We really appreciate your presence today. Thank you so much.
Great. And before I go to Tyrus, we were privileged to have human rights lawyer, Caroline Waudo, who shared her experience as a 12-year-old client of NCBA. For you, not a speech, Caroline, but give us your parting shot. Caroline. Unmute.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, Alex, for that. Just want to encourage everyone that NCBA is a reliable partner. It's stress-free banking. What is most important about them, and that's why I've banked with them for a long time, is communication. They will communicate to you. They will tell you what is available for you and what you need to do and what they will do. So they can lead you through the whole process of any facility you want to borrow from them, or if you want to open a bank account, they will be with you. In short, they will hold your hand through the whole process. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Many thanks, Caroline. Asante sana. Finally, Tyrus, go for it.
Thank you so much, Alex. Caroline, thank you for your support over the years and this morning as well. Nothing really brings to life other than personal experiences going for it with NCBA. Thank you, Alex, for mobilizing and supporting us and moderating so effectively. We have a lot to learn from you, media gurus. Ronah, thank you, and well done to you and the team. Ronah's contacts are available. We will also look through every single question, and Ronah and her team will be in touch where we can discern what the customer's name was, and if we can find your contact, we will try. However, do reach us directly on the contacts that are displayed there, so that you can get a specific response to your question, including those who posted anonymously, so that we can help you understand better. As I leave, I want you to remember that the numbers that matter to you matter to us. And so let's have a conversation about how we can help you go for it. Thank you very much.
Great. Sina mengi ya kuongeza. I'm really glad that this session has gone on well, and apologies for taking 7 more minutes of your time. It has been a pleasure, and many thanks for all of those who've participated. Keep going for it. Speak to NCBA. You have it there. You have the contacts. And just to say, those who are going to bed, usiku mwema, and those who are beginning their day, have a good day. My name is Alex Chamwada, and it has been a pleasure being your moderator of this webinar. Bye-bye, and God bless. Bye-bye, everyone.